Tomas wakes up in a cabin in the woods. He is a soldier. We see pictures of children there. Most likely, he is one of them from long ago. Soon, we see him digging outside. A strange item is what he digs up. Then he wakes up in what looks like a homeless shelter. This makes us wonder if the previous scenes were a dream. Perhaps they could be flashback dreams. He has to cut tape surrounding his hands for some reason. Shortly after, he goes to work as a builder. When that's over, he sleeps back at the shelter. During that time, he dreams of being in the woods again. He sits in his tiny station until he observes a lady running his way at a distance. He points his weapon at her, and she collapses once she comes near. At that moment, an alarm wakes Tomas up at the shelter. After they all run out, Tomas falls to the ground outside because the smoke got to him. A lady who looks like a nun stands over him. Tomas wakes up in a hospital. As a nurse is tending to him, he says he had a bag on him. She replies that an orderly has a message for him. Supposedly, the message was for Tomas to arrive at a church somewhere because that's where we see him next. He goes inside to meet the nun who stood over him when he fell. She is Sister Claire, who hands him his pictures. He tells her the war is over so he could go back home. From this line, we can infer he was definitely a soldier. Those were not just random dreams he had. As he searches his bag, he says he had some money, but Sister Claire says she didn't find any. Before leaving, Tomas thanks her. While he walks away, she says that forward is not the only way. There are other roads he can take. Although her words are cryptic, they hold him back from leaving. The next scene has them walking together to her house. It seems like she wants to help him, and he didn't choose to decline. Upon entering the house, Claire greets another lady there, whom she calls Magda. After introducing Tomas to her, Claire informs him that Magda's disabled mom is cared for there. Magda is tasked with the difficulty of caring for her. Once Claire says this, they hear the mother's muffled yelling coming from above. She also says that God will take her soon. Following this, Tomas gets taken to a room where he asks Magda how much she wants for it. Yet she tells him they don't need his money. In there, he hears the mother suffering again, which prompts Magda to go to her. Later, Tomas starts coming to Magda at Clary's request. He sees her removing a bandage that reveals a bite mark on her arm. We then see Claire walking outside. She tosses Tomas's money on the street, which proves they don't need it. Money is not something they need at all. Soon Tomas discovers there is no electricity in the house. Magda tells him there is none, because her mother once tried to use a socket dangerously. As they eat, Magda asks him why he's there. He professes that he only wants to help. She tells him her mom won't like it. Before going to bed, Tomas tapes himself. It is not yet known why he does this. By going to sleep, he enters the woods again. This is his flashback dream world. Now, he carries the lady that fell near him. She wakes up at night, and he tells her she could run away. He tells her where the nearest village is, but she doesn't want to go there. If she's heading for the border, she won't make it because she will get shot. However, the lady, who is named Miriam, informs him that her daughter is beyond the border. To that, Tomas gives her some promising news. A peace deal is coming. It is months away, though, so in the meantime, he allows her to stay there to wait for it. After it comes, she will be able to cross. On another day, Miriam wakes up to see the item Tomas dug up. While a truck full of soldiers passes by, he yells out to her that they're gone. She holds the item when she hears this. We see he is a man who wants to help her, even at the risk of facing a negative outcome for himself. In the morning, Tomas looks at a broken toilet and wants to fix it. A hole in the wall makes him curious to put his hand inside. Yet Magda comes to stop him for an unexplained reason. He tells her there's a water problem, to which she replies she didn't ask him to come. Later, Tomas goes upstairs, where he goes through a door that was hard to open. There, he removes the lid of a tank containing black water. It prompts him to start fixing the toilet again. While Magda isn't there, he can deal with the situation. Black water fills up the toilet before draining. As it drains, we see something very disturbing become revealed. A lifeless animal is stuck in the toilet. Very non-hygienically, Tomas takes the creature out with his bare hands. At this point, it becomes more clear what it is: a bat. To make matters worse, it comes to life to bite Tomas in the arm, making the man drop it before stomping on it. Then he shows it to Magda, who wants him to take it away. At another time, Magda leaves her mother's room. Tomas stands nearby to ask if her mom beats her. After she says her mom is in pain, he tells her that is no excuse. When she was young, Magda says she felt her mom didn't want her. However, she was cared for by her mother. She asks Tomas if he's going to care for her too. He doesn't answer. When he sleeps, we get to enter his past again. He comes to Miriam to find her holding the item he found. She calls it an amulet, thinking it could protect her. In the morning, Magda invites Tomas to the market with her. They walk outside while talking. Tomas comes to understand her a little bit more, but she is still highly mysterious. Once they're in the market, he asks the lady if she likes it there. She replies that she doesn't know, further adding to her mystery. Back at home, Magda reads a romance book, telling him he could borrow it. Romance, however, is not for this man. Magda is not surprised, because she says the genre is not thought of highly by males. According to her, they don't think it's real love. She tells him that love is sacrifice. Switching the subject, she asks Tomas what he writes in his room, because she can hear him at night. He is writing a dissertation for a doctorate in philosophy. This causes Magda to recite some philosophical poetry to him, showing that she, too, is capable of thinking in the same area. Later, the man works around the house, applying his builder skills. As he does, he sees a certain pattern on the ceiling. It reminds him of the amulet, which seems to make him fall from the ladder. Tomas asks if she sees it too, but she doesn't see anything. In a short while, he tells her that in old times, such a pattern was painted on the sides of houses as a warning against evil. Quite disconnected from what he just told her, she asks if he took anyone's life during the war. Again, he doesn't answer her. This is a man who probably has to think about many things before he can answer them. It seems like he is a philosopher through and through. Magda tells him it's a sin to waste one's life. If she were free, she would dance every night. She would even frequent nightclubs. She then demonstrates her version of the dancing that happens in such places. Suddenly, a light bulb starts flickering, prompting Magda to rush to her mom. Tomas feels like he has to investigate what's going on up there, so he goes after Magda. It's unknown how long he lived there, yet he still hasn't seen her mother. Soon enough, he enters the area where Magda sits with her mom, who shivers on the floor. We see some wires that Magda says she cut. She thought she got all of them before these. Her mom looks grotesque, making Tomas ask what's wrong with her. But this time, it's he who doesn't get an answer. Shortly after, the mother grabs her daughter from behind to choke her. Thankfully, Tomas is there to save Magda. They run downstairs, and Tomas gets angry because she didn't tell him about this side of her mother's nature. Back in Tomas's past, he asks Miriam if she is married because of her ring. She explains that she is divorced. She put her ring on when the soldiers came because she thought it would protect her. Then, we find out that Tomas knows her from somewhere. He saw her at the town hall. When he had to get the papers for his university application, he waited 1 hour in line. She was there, never looking up at him, though he wanted her to. Alas, she doesn't remember him. In the present time, Tomas returns to the house after having wandered outside. Magda seems happy to see him. He tells her the house needs work. It seems like she thought he left for good, but he has now returned. Also, is fixing the house his real reason for coming back? During dinner, they eat together for the first time. After that, they have some fun by going out at night. Magda enjoys herself by dancing at a bar, like she said she wanted to. This is the first moment in which we see her unwind. Her dancing is unusual, yet Tomas is glad to see her letting her hair down. They soon connect and start kissing. As they do, Tomas gets an unsettling image. It brings him discomfort, so he leaves. Magda feels lost for a moment. She soon, however, gets back into dancing. In the meantime, Tomas runs to see Claire. He sits with her, crying. She tells him she knows about the troubles of the world. That is when the man reveals he made a mistake by trying to help someone. Despite his attempt, the person got hurt. The next scene has him suffering in his sleep. Magda is there to see it. We come to understand why he tapes his hands together before bedtime. He uncontrollably uses them to his detriment. Magda comes to help him, yet he pushes her to the wall. Seconds later, Tomas starts kissing the poor lady without even apologizing. Shortly after, he feels wrong for some reason. She doesn't understand why. We then see an eye watching them through a hole. It is Magda's mother, whom Magda approaches, telling her not to be angry. She also asks who will care for her after her mother is gone. As Magda looks through the keyhole, her mom pokes her with something. Tomas quickly comes to her aid. He wants to call the police, but Magda prohibits that action. Following that, Tomas comes to look at the mother, with Magda soon joining him. They observe something very disturbing. A creature starts coming out of her. It terrifies the man who once saw the horrors of war. Magda, however, appears seasoned in her observation of such things. The creature turns out to be a bat, which Magda stomps on. We learn now that it was the mom who was responsible for the bat from earlier. Afterward, Tomas sits with Claire again. She starts talking to him about demons, that they are pure evil. She also says they require care, along with companionship. The demon that Magda is caring for is coming to an end. Due to that, Tomas wonders if Magda will become free when the demon leaves. Claire informs him that no master will allow his slave to outlive it. This is her duty, she says. Evil must be contained. At that point, Tomas says with disbelief that she gave Magda to the demon. He wants to know why he is there. Claire tells him it's his destiny. The man has to protect Magda. In the next scene, he comes home, telling Magda he will free her by destroying the demon. But she doesn't think he can. According to her, he's a coward. Such words prompt him to take the lady against the wall. He wants her to understand that she knows nothing about him. His next action is going upstairs with a knife in his hand. While he walks, the mother slams against the door. After opening it as much as she can, she manages to bite Tomas once he comes near. Yet he retaliates by stabbing his knife in her. He enters the room to witness her removing the blade. The mother comes at him wielding it, though Magda appears to tell her to leave him be. They belong together, she says. Then she comes to her mother to impress upon her that there is no escape. Back in the past, Tomas sees Miriam getting ready to leave. He firmly tells her she will lose her life in the woods. We can see he does not want her to go. Perhaps he's even starting to love her. Unfortunately, Miriam starts running away before calling him a good man. Subsequently, Tomas wakes up next to Magda. She tells him he was out cold for 2 days. He tells her he failed her. If he could free her, he told himself he would have the right to be happy again. He also says there is something inside him that's stronger than he is. Despite that, he tries to assure her he is a good man. Suddenly, back in his past, we see him catching Miriam in the woods. It appears that he It's uncertain what brought him to do this. Maybe it's the anxiety of knowing he would never see her again. He had to let his feelings out, but he chose the wrong way to do it. As Tomas lies with Magda, we see a more recent flashback of him coming out of a bathtub to vomit a black substance. Near him, Claire sits on a chair, not wearing her nun attire. At that moment, she says she's not a nun. Who she is, she doesn't reveal. She just taunts Tomas that he will find out for himself. She gives him a mirror to look at himself, and the man becomes very upset because he realizes something bad is inside him. Claire asks who he wants his companion to be. He tells her he wants Magda. This makes the deceptive lady laugh, telling him he has to finish her mother off for that. Tomas then comes to the mother's place to finally. Once he does that, he notices something bizarre. The mother isn't exactly a female. There is also a part of a newspaper Tomas finds that mentions a man who supposedly took the lives of his mom and wife to marry the daughter. At that point, Tomas remembers how Magda told him the house belonged to a man they knew. It seems like due to the wickedness of that man, he was fated with such a diseased form. After all that, Tomas enters a room that has, of all things, a giant snail shell inside. Of course, the sensible action to take is for him to enter it. Inside, he sees a being that looks like a fleshed-out version of the amulet he dug up long ago. She talks to him like she knows him, saying that he used to find her attractive. Tomas seems overwhelmed with the abnormality of what is taking place, so he exits the shell. Outside of it, he starts feeling great pain. Claire comes to him, while the being from inside says that she chose well. However, Claire says they choose their path themselves. We understand why this is happening to him. Because of what he did to Miriam, he now has to suffer a similar fate, just like the man before him. Something starts protruding from his stomach. The last words he hears before his life is changed completely. He will make a wonderful mother. The final sequence of scenes starts, showing us Miriam alive and well as she works at a convenience store. Of all people, Magda arrives to pick up a frozen meal. Miriam tells her they all have to forget, as well as move on. Yet Magda would prefer to never forget. She leaves the amulet on the counter for Miriam to look at. While Magda drives away, we see Miriam has reunited with her daughter. Then Magda tosses the food she bought in the backseat. A hand comes from underneath a blanket to take it. It is Tomas, being cared for and simultaneously punished by Magda.